Reddit users, what's the creepiest thing that ever happened to you during a night shift?
Let me say up front, I work in a nice quiet town with a low crime rate, and I had no reason to think any of this had anything to do with human trafficking. I work at a big coffee chain, usually closing shifts. We close at 10:30. That night we had a really young crew closing, all girls. Our shift lead Sarah, who's 19, me at 17, my co-worker Mia, also 17, and Dee, who's 18. It was pouring, barely any customers, the cafe and drive-thru empty. I was up front cleaning while the others chatted in the back when an older man walked in. He was dressed strangely for the weather, all black, combat boots, a heavy red jacket, a beanie. I figured he worked outside and went to ask about an online order. Instead of answering, he sets a bag on the counter and pulls out a stack of DVDs, about 10 of them. He stares past me into the back at my co-workers, makes a slow lap around the cafe without a word, never taking his eyes off me, and backs out to his big black pickup. Freaked out, I grab the DVDs and run to the girls. Sarah notices they're all movies about murders and kidnappings. We call our manager. He says there's nothing we can do. Call back if anything else happens. The pickup pulls off, but only into the lot of the closed grocery store next door, with a clear view of the drive-thru window. Then Mia points out a van that had been sitting in the back of the lot for almost an hour. I get another bad feeling, and I lock the door. Dee's boyfriend Daniel is coming to get her. I close the cafe, and the manager's fine with it. Sarah and Dee are in the back. Mia and I are up front. I keep talking to keep her calm. She jumps at every sound. My back is to her when she screams mid-sentence, "Get out!" I spin around. A dark figure is climbing through the drive-thru window. I yank Mia behind me and grab the hot bucket of sanitizer I'd been scrubbing the counter with. I throw it on him and shove him back out the window. He was only halfway through, a big red bucket now over his head. Right then, Daniel pulls up. I slam the windows shut and lock them while the man flails on the ground. Maybe 20 seconds later, Daniel tackles him and pins him down. Sarah's already on the phone with the police. Some of our regulars are sheriff's deputies, and they were there within 5 minutes and arrested him. It turned out he was part of a local trafficking ring that had been caught years earlier and let out on bail. And that van in the back that kept Dee from leaving, it bolted in the middle of everything. And the police later linked it to the same ring. I still work there. Daniel, who held the guy down until the police came, is the real hero, though I'm pretty proud of my quick thinking too. Moral of the story, trust your gut and always keep a hot bucket of sanitizer on hand. This is my second post here, and hopefully my last. I work the register at GameStop. It's a great job, surrounded by everything I love, games, anime, all of it. I'm attractive, or so I've been told, and my manager straight up said that's why he hired me, since most of our customers are guys. This is about one of them. I mostly work the register, greet people when they walk in, ring them up. It was getting close to closing. I was the only one up front, and I'd started my closing duties. The door buzzer went off, and without looking, I called out, "Hi, welcome to GameStop. Let me know if there's anything I can help you find." Usually I get a hello or a question back, but this time it was silent. I looked up. A man had just walked in staring at me, but the second our eyes met, he looked away and started scanning the games on the shelves. I shrugged it off. Guys often don't greet me. They figure a girl can't know anything about games, and kept closing up. I bent down behind the counter and felt someone standing on the other side. It was him. He sets his games on the counter without a word. I pull them from the drawers and run through the usual questions. Did you find everything okay? Do you have a rewards card with us? Want us to protect the game? Nothing back, he just stares. I turn to the register and process the payment, and I can feel his eyes drilling into the side of my head. I print the receipt, bag his games, he takes them and turns to leave. I shrug it off again. It's nothing new for me. It's almost time to pull down the gates when the phone rings. I sigh, figuring it's a customer trying to squeeze in before we close, and pick up. Heavy breathing. Hi, thank you for calling GameStop. How can I help you? I was just in there, buying some games. Oh, was something wrong with the purchase? No, I'm just calling to let you know I received your signals. I'm not sure what you mean, sir. He said it more sternly. I'm calling to let you know I picked up on your signals. You're very beautiful and your signals were received. When do you get off? I'll be waiting. That's when I hung up. I rushed forward, pulled the gates down, locked up. I went to the back and told my manager about the call, and he said once I finished closing, he'd drive me home. I usually walk since I live so close. While I was quickly changing the trash bags, a car pulled up and parked right in front of the store. Nobody got out. Luckily, my manager parked out back, and we left through the rear door. I never saw that guy again, but every time I walk home, I think about that one customer. I was in my early 20s, living alone, with most of my family a 4-hour drive away. I worked the night shift as an operator at a small call center. We ran the phone line for a 24-hour emergency plumbing company, so someone had to be on the line at all times. My shift ran from 8 at night until my boss came in to take over, usually around 6 in the morning. The building housed a few businesses like ours, but we were the only 24-hour one, and thanks to budget cuts, I was always the only operator on my floor. At night, it was just me and the security guard who came around twice a shift to do his rounds. I couldn't disconnect from the line, so I ate in front of the computer, ran to the bathroom and back, and snuck cigarettes at the window without letting the screen out of sight. Only the lamp over my desk was on. Everything else went dark at 10 when everyone left. I needed the job badly, so I kept telling myself it wasn't so bad. Quiet after 10, extra hours on my check, plenty of time to read. One night, around 2, a call came in. I introduced myself like always. Hello, you've reached so-and-so. My name is Jill. How can I help you? The man repeated my name and hung up. On the night shift, you get used to weird stuff, so I shrugged it off. He called again and again, asked if it was Jill, then hung up. Then he started breathing hard into the phone, saying he wanted me to talk to him and he wasn't going to hurt me. I wrote down his number and started hanging up every time it popped up. This went on for months. Once he realized I was hanging up on his number, he started calling from a blocked one, so I'd answer without knowing. One night I counted. I hung up on him over 200 times. I complained to my boss, and she just laughed it off. He doesn't know where you are. You're perfectly safe. Then it got genuinely creepy. Talking to my coworkers, I realized he never called on my days off or on anyone else's shift. One time I swapped shifts to go to a wedding, and he didn't call that day. Someone could see me and knew my schedule. I got paranoid. There was no one to walk me to my car after my shift. At night, I was the only one there. I drove with my phone in my hand, the emergency number already dialed, sometimes talking to friends the whole way, just to stay calm. I even thought about carrying a box cutter in my purse. One day, before my shift, I was finishing a cigarette by the entrance, and the security guard walked up. The same big guy who worked my nights. I barely knew him, just said hi out of politeness. He asked for a light and I handed him my lighter. He told me he'd been fired and was heading home. Then he added that he'd always gotten the feeling I was afraid of him, since I was never friendly or welcoming. And he told me he was never going to hurt me. And he walked away. Every drop of blood drained out of me. Inside, I found out he'd been fired for harassing women on the other floors, even trying to corner someone in an elevator. His shifts had lined up with mine. He watched me come in at 8 and left before I did. I asked my boss for that number so I could report him. She said she'd thrown it away. She thought the whole thing was cute, and she doubted me. A voice on the phone sounds different. Maybe you got it wrong. The night shift was never recorded. Budget cuts again, so I had no proof. Once he was fired, the calls stopped. I didn't work there much longer. His face is burned into my memory. I hope I never see him again. I figured I'd never have a reason to post here again, thank God, until a friend and I started swapping retail horror stories the other day, and I remembered another time my gut told me to run. Back then, I was a teenager working as a barista at a small coffee shop a couple minutes from my house. My job was to stay bubbly and smiling, no matter what people pulled before they got their coffee. Because of that, I'd had a few guys mistake friendliness for flirting, but none as creepy as this one. He came in on a Sunday evening during my shift when I was working alone. My coworker had gotten too sick to handle food and gone home. Plain leather jacket, jeans, early 40s. He ordered a small coffee, paid in loose change, and started hitting on me over the counter. I brushed it off. Then he says he recognizes me, that I must be a local. I'd never seen him in my life, so I laugh nervously and deny it. And that's when he gets weirder. I've definitely seen you on campus. After that, he spent a few minutes rattling off school after school he'd supposedly seen me at. He was obviously just guessing. Eventually, he seemed to give up on that. I watch him come around the counter, toward the little door we use to get out and clean, and try to get through it toward me. I was terrified, but I forced myself to say, as firmly as I could, "Customers aren't allowed back here." He smirks and goes, "I'm not just some regular customer, you're playing hard to get." I say it again, not allowed. His face goes flat in an instant. His whole tone shifts. "So you're working till close? What time do you guys close?" I lied and said 2 in the morning, when really it was 10, since it was a Sunday. He nods. "Then I'll come back at 2 for you." And he leaves. My manager wasn't in that day. He only came by Thursdays and Fridays, so I couldn't tell him until my next shift. He brought me into the office to watch the security tapes from that night, just to ease my mind. And you know what? The creep actually came back at 2 in the morning in a beat-up Honda, and the cameras caught him yanking on the front door and crouching down to peer through the windows, past the shades we pull down at night. Then he went back to his car, one of only 2 in the lot, and sped off. I have no idea what he wanted with a teenage girl at 2 in the morning on a Sunday, but I've never seen him since, and I hope I never do. I've worked at a department store for 2 years now. Retail wasn't the dream, but it beat my old job in food service. It was mid-January. After Christmas, the store is basically dead by the end of the day, and with a Canadian snowstorm on top of it, they put fewer people on shift. And I was alone in the fitting room. It's a big store, so we were spread out across the floor, and nobody wore earpieces. We paged each other over the speakers. It was a Wednesday, around 8, and we closed at 9. A man comes to the fitting room with 2 dress shirts, nothing unusual. Older, tall, stocky, muscular, dressed nicely though. An expensive suit, a nice shoulder bag, like he'd come in after work. I counted his items, handed him a tag, and asked him in French. In Quebec, we address customers in French first, to put the clothes back on the hangers. "No problem," he says, with a thick accent, maybe Russian. He went into a stall. A couple minutes later, he comes out. Neither shirt worked. I took them, said thank you, and turned to hang them back up. Normally, the customer leaves here, But he just stood there. I asked if there was anything else I could help with. He just smiles and stares, and my stomach drops. I'm a short girl who hates confrontation, so I laugh nervously and start pointlessly rearranging the tags on the desk. He asks my name. I glance at my name tag and repeat it. That's a beautiful name. Another nervous laugh. Thank you. I look away, and he just stands there. It felt like 20 minutes. It was 3. He stood there while I helped other customers, and it kept getting worse. I asked again if he needed anything else. This is where I got scared. He tells me he'll be waiting for me at 9:30 outside the doors. He wants to take me out. How does he know when we finish? The store closes at 9, and we spend half an hour cleaning up. I laugh nervously again and decline. I have to get home and study. He laughs, takes a step toward me, and I instinctively step back. That answer didn't satisfy him. He smiles. I'll be waiting by the door the employees leave from, in the truck alley. There is a door like that. The regular ones lock around 9:15, and we finish later, so we go out through a narrow alley where the delivery trucks come. My eyes started to well up because employees aren't allowed to mention that door. It's a company rule since the lot is dark. I tell him again I'm not interested, and he puts a hand on my shoulder, and I freeze. I'm praying a coworker will walk over. Nobody does. He says I'm a pretty girl, and he can't wait to meet me in the alley. He's got a nice apartment and a cute dog, he says, and we'll have a fun time. Desperate, I tell him my boyfriend is picking me up. He just laughs and puts his hand on my shoulder again. I'm genuinely scared now. I excuse myself to the phone at my desk, shaking his hand off. I hadn't realized how tightly he'd been gripping my shoulder. I paged my coordinator, who snapped that she was busy and hung up. I called my manager, who thankfully answered. Seeing me on the phone, the man left the fitting room, but that didn't make me feel any better. My manager was furious. Report him now. You have to be careful with people like that. She told me to call security, and the guard said he had him on camera. Around 8:30, he called back. The man never left. He was circling the store. I went cold. He didn't come near me again. At closing, 2 co-workers from the warehouse, Evan and Ethan, walked me all the way to my car. I hated walking through that alley, so I drove home the long way, checking for a tail. I locked the door behind me and finally let myself breathe. After that, I saw that man a few more times, loitering around the store and glancing at me, but he never came up to me again. I've worked at a big craft store in California for almost 2 years. Last year we hired a guy. I'll call him Hayden. He was quiet at first, but within a couple weeks he opened up and started saying unhinged stuff. Once he couldn't figure out how to assemble a table and said something about slitting his wrists over it. Another time in the stockroom, he kept going on about how much he looked like the Parkland shooter, Nicholas Cruz, and I'll admit, he really did. One time I was waiting for my ride after a shift and he walked up behind me with an awkward smile. I ask, "What's up?" And he goes, "Oh, nothing. Just on my lunch break thinking about heading into the Taco Bell across the lot and shanking someone." He laughed and said he was joking. When my wife picked me up, we saw him walking toward that Taco Bell, grinning at us ear to ear. The last straw was unloading the spring freight. Our shift ran from 7 to noon, and by 11 we weren't done, because Hayden kept goofing off and working slow on purpose. Our boss came by and threatened to write us both up. I was furious. Hayden seemed to feel bad, apologized, then said, in the most serious tone I'd ever heard from him, "If I get fired, I'll shoot this place up." He added that he knew where all the emergency exits were, and he'd shoot the cashiers first, then everyone else. I didn't report it right away, but I kept thinking, What if? After my wife talked me into it, I told my manager. They took a written report and called the police. A couple days later, Hayden was fired and then arrested for the threats. In the interrogation, he kept asking whether I was the one who reported him. Fast forward a few weeks. I'm heading to the break room when a man at the paint case asks me to grab him some paint. As I'm opening the case, he calls me by name, even though I wasn't wearing my name tag that day. I ask how he knows it, and he says it was just a lucky guess, with a smirk and obvious sarcasm. He stares at me and starts asking about my name. It's the same as a character on a popular show. What year I was born, why my parents named me that. I walked off, and he shouted my name across 3 aisles. I hid in the warehouse until he was gone. Later, a co-worker told me he'd asked her about me too. Was I a good worker? Did she like me? He came in 2 more times, including on my day off, asking where I was. I suspect he's related to Hayden. Same mannerisms, same creepy vibe. This happened in a small town, not exactly a dangerous place. Last year I worked full-time at a little Japanese shop in the mall near my house, mostly closing shifts, and I took the bus. One morning, right across from my house at the town hall, there was a commotion. I crossed the street just before a few police cars and an ambulance tore past, sirens loud enough for the whole neighborhood. I had no idea what happened and just got on the bus. At my transfer, under the bus shelter, I see a guy around 20 with empty black eyes, staring right at me. It was just the 2 of us. It was strange. It was blazing hot, and he was in a sweater, a heavy backpack, and work boots that looked too big for his thin frame. Then it hit me that I recognized him, a regular who comes into my store for earbuds. I've been told my friendly aura draws all kinds of people to me. I pretended to be on my phone, but he sat down next to me, managed a hi, and said he recognized me from work. On the bus, he sat close, talking about hobbies, about how his parents kicked him out and he'd been couch surfing. He walked me all the way to work, though I never asked, and before leaving he asked for my number. I stupidly gave it. That night he texted wanting to hang out, but I cut it short. Tired, work in the morning. He never wrote again. Here's the awful part. A few weeks later, the news came out. On the trails across from my house by the town hall, a woman had been sexually assaulted and murdered. It shook the whole town. Nothing like that had happened here before, and in broad daylight. When the police released the suspect's photo and name after the arrest, my heart nearly stopped. It was him. The guy who sat next to me on the bus, walked me to work, took my number, and texted me all day. Right after he did it, the same empty eyes, the long hair, the same sweater, backpack, and boots. I checked the dates and times of his texts against the news, and they all lined up. My intuition is hit or miss, and I should trust it more. I felt guilty, like I could have done something sooner, but there was no way for me to know.